So here we have the Goliath from the City of the Ancients. He's sort of the big baddie from this box set. And he's on sprue all of his own, so we'll go ahead and pull him out of the bag. And you can see he is in a number of pieces here. He's got the back half and the front half of his legs. He also has the back and front half of his body. He's got his two long tentacle arms, the two halves of his head, and the two halves of his big tentacle tongues. So we'll go ahead and clip this guy off here. And for as big a model as he is, he's actually not in too many pieces, and the pieces go together pretty cleanly. Now the Goliath is quite a terrible enemy to fight when you encounter him in the mines. He will definitely mess you up. He can easily take on an entire party of heroes on his own, because his big flailing tentacles actually attack every hero that's within 3 spaces of him. So if he can even get close to you, he's going to start swinging his tentacle arms and knocking your heroes around. And again, as normal, you always want to put the flat end of the clippers right up against the model so that it gets as much of the sprue off as possible. You'll also notice that on these two long tentacle arms, there's actually an anchor pin, so it's thinner and then gets long at the end of the pin, and you want to make sure you don't accidentally clip any of that off, because the anchor end goes into the body before you put the two halves of the body together, and it makes it a stronger connection. Alright, so we'll clip off the two sides of the head, and lastly, the second half of the face tentacles. Alright, and that's it for this sprue. Now again, you can use either super glue or plastic cement. I'm going to go ahead and use super glue because it dries a little bit faster. And we'll put the pieces that have anchor stuff off to one side, the tentacle arms, because those need to go inside the body. So the first thing I'll do is I'll glue the two halves of the mouth tentacles together. And you can see that those basically just go pretty cleanly together, so we can just put a little bit of glue along the inner rim of that piece. And then we can just lay the smaller piece right inside there, and it goes right together, so that creates one big piece for the mouth tentacles. And then we can do the same thing for the head. The two halves of the head just fit right together, and he's got a big gaping mouth that his tentacles are going to go in. So we'll just put a little glue along this rim that the two halves fit together on. Alright, just squeeze that together for a second. And if you ever feel like you get extra glue on the edge, you can just take a little rag or a piece of paper towel, and just sort of brush it off and get any excess glue off of there. Alright, the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and put the legs together, and you can see that the legs actually have 3 little sockets and 3 little pins, and so they just fit right cleanly together there. So we'll just put a little glue in each of these sockets, and if you want, you can put a little bit around the outer lip to make a stronger connection. This guy's legs actually fit together pretty easily even without a lot of glue, but this will help keep them together once you've got them stuck in. And you just line the little pegs up. You just line the little pegs up and push the pegs into the legs, into the slots on the back half of the legs, and then squeeze it together, and you got a set of Goliath legs, just like that. All right. Now sometimes you'll notice that on the bottom of the feet there will be a little bit of a bit of sprue that was left on there. You can either use your clippers to remove extra stuff, or you can use a file to file it down, or a hobby knife to just cut the excess off, just so he's got a little bit of a cleaner fit when you glue his legs down onto the base. Alright, so we'll dry fit the two halves of the body together here. They go together pretty easily. You can see the head goes up here, the tentacle arms go on the sides, and the legs go in the bottom. So you can see that the tentacles, like I said earlier, have the anchors, and the head has an anchor as well. The legs and the tentacle mouths don't have any anchors. I'm going to go ahead and put the tentacle mouths actually right into the head to give me a little bit of extra surface to push it into the body with. So it gives me more of a handle to hold on to when I'm attaching his head. So I just put a little bit of glue around there, drop the tentacles into his face, and now he looks quite menacing. Alright. So I'm going to dry fit the tentacles here really quick just to get the proper alignment. So I'll take the back half of the body and try to decide exactly which spots the tentacles go in. Alright. So one way to do this is to, when you're putting the tentacle in, to look how the contour fits with the rest of the back. That lets you see which end it's going to go in most cleanly. Alright, so it looks like it's going to be like that. It's going to go on there, and then this one is going to go on the other side. Oops, like that. So with these, because they're anchors and I want to be able to move them around a little bit easier, I'm going to use the plastic cement. And I'm just going to put a little bit right here on this anchor point, and a little bit on this side, and then a little bit around the edges of the body. And we just need to make sure that we put in all 3 anchors, the head and the 2 arm tentacles, before we put the second half on. So we'll just lay it down and lay that one on this side, lay this one on the other side, and we'll put a little bit of glue on the head connection as well. Alright, and connect that up, making sure that they're all in the right spots. And really there's only one way that it's going to fit, so if you lay the 3 pieces on and then push the 2 halves of the body together, it's kind of hard to go wrong with that. You just need to make sure you have the right tentacle arms on the right side of the body. Okay, and then lastly we'll go ahead and put some glue in the waistline, and we'll put the legs on and hold that in place for a second. And then we have the Goliath. We just need to attach him to his base. Now, as one of the really extra large big bad guys, he's going to go on the very big 60mm base. And we can just center him up, and he stands on his own. And there you have a big, nasty Goliath to attack your heroes with. And you can see here, if we put some of the heroes next to him, you can really get a good sense of scale on how gigantic that Goliath really is. Not something you'd want to run into in a dark mine.